All right. Live already. Good. Hi, everybody. It's Alan. And it's Friday. Make sure I got my stuff here. Yeah, right there. Good. Right across from the seat for me. Hey, other TIs out there. Hi. Targeted individuals. And for all the people who've never heard of it, and it sounds very strange, and it is strange. If you are a TI, you are very aware of how strange and unbelievable all this sounds. And if it wasn't happening, you hate to say it, but it's honest. If it wasn't directly happening to you yourself, and somebody else, and if it was happening to somebody else, and they were trying their best to describe it, to help people believe, and if they were saying what we were saying, it would be hard to understand or believe. But with Havana syndrome on the news, and then seeing the White House bioethics thing in 2011 and in 2012, and seeing that the science for all this stuff, the Frey effect, microwave Frey effect, human trafficking and torture, military operation. Hello, it's good to meet you there. Human trafficked and tortured. Are you a TI yourself? Well, you're welcome here whether you are or aren't, but it sounds like human trafficked and tortured. You're welcome here. Good to have another TI here. When you are a TI, and I'm sure our new friend here will, it sounds too weird. Our government wouldn't do that. And even with the idea of our, government used to do some bad things in the past, and even Bill Clinton, to his credit, in '95, and you can type this up, Bill Clinton apologized for radiation experiments on human public. And you can find that. He admits it, Yes, definitely you're one yourself, so you understand what I'm talking about. And so it was great of Bill Clinton to admit it. Very thankful. First, during in the '70s, as a church commission, they were trying to. During the church meeting, the church committee looked at the CIA and all the corruption and torture that was happening then, with using drugs on people unbeknownst to them and given to prostitutes and all sorts of different. Not just illegal or immoral, just shenanigans, but torture, and just for their amusement and to see what does what. And it's always radiation too. It seems like there's this obsession. First, with drugs, what drugs work on what person or prisoners or inmates, and then it's also with radiation, microwave radiation. I'm very thankful, but it is weird when you're a TI and the government is purposely floating this. Well, I mean, admitting that the Havana syndrome is kicking out, and it's happening to different CIA, FBI, different people in other countries. My personal opinion is now, if somebody says they're going through it, my first thing is, yeah, I'll believe, because why would somebody want to sound like a foolish, want to sound like a nutty or have this? It's not fun. Unless getting some. This certainly not a case of Munchausen by proxy. We don't get a lot of genuine sympathy. We get looks of being nuts or crazy. But when you're an otherwise rational, coherent person, and you can point out this to other people, then it's kind of like you can show them, yeah, it's the exact same thing as what the White House was saying, what the FBI, what the CIA people going overseas was claiming was happening to them. That was they were being attacked by the same jolts, whether to the head, the brain, causing massive out of the blue headaches, doubling over in pain, or the heart, just suddenly just double over. Now that's what I'm more familiar with. I've had a couple. I have V2K, and what's even weirder. I mean, that can be understood through the what they call the Alan Frey microwave effect, where when it started, I think in the 60s, um, they were able to send some like pulses, like a sound, or maybe a number or a word, just very quick. But they were able to. But now, before it was just like, and then maybe a word or a pulse, where somebody could hear it. But now, with V2K, it's just instantaneous, and it's sentences the full bore. And and then when you have synthetic telepathy, now the one thing that kind of does kick out with synthetic telepathy, it is a military experiential. The military gives its new technology. It doesn't even have to be brand new. It could just be some torture tech. They give it to local law enforcement. Could be big cities. It could be small towns. And to try and experiment it on everyday people to see the effects. And I'm sure I haven't seen what these non-disclosure of, paperwork is, but I'm sure they get money to use this on everyday people to torture them. Certainly don't get a consent form. They just torture them, and the person just knows they're in pain. They don't have somebody from local law enforcement, or they don't have a doctor. When you go into the doctor complaining of pain, for years, you don't have anybody say, oh, well, that's because, somebody in our city hall and a group of us got together and decided, well, you're 13 or you're 10 or you're 25 or 40. And we don't even to kids. I mean, in my own case, it started when I was like 15, 16, when I genuinely noticed my side heart pain. Literally, I was in high school and on my way to go to Bible college to be a minister. I was studying for it. And so it wasn't like a punishment. I didn't know anybody, and throughout all my years, I didn't really know anybody in City Hall. I think I dated a gal who's, had a relative that worked there, but that was it. I didn't really know anybody in law enforcement. I didn't know anybody in City Hall. But I just assumed they're good people. I didn't have any enemies. They were all pretty good people figured in my town, but just the town where I lived in for all these years. They were, conservative, religious, and everybody's got their issues or problems, but it's just, I thought they were pretty good people, and I had no idea who was doing this to me. All I know is I lived 30 to 35 years, just this massive side pain, and I needed to take pain meds for, which I was thankful for. I was thankful that they sent me to specialist, and I was and am still to this day thankful that they did that. And but it's just, you just don't know what it is, what caused this. Why can't somebody figure out what it is? But still, nobody knows everything. So it's kind of like, well, maybe it's just, but at least they're treating it. At least they're trying to take the pain away. And then finally, in 2015, 2016, we start getting this V2K through the walls, through the flooring of somebody's. And when you hear it, it's very, you can hear it, no problem. But you can also tell it's kind of light, and it's not loud. I mean, you can hear it, but you think, well, is this going to be able to be picked up on? Now, some people have been able to pick it up on some type of recording device, or some people have been able to, and do some things with the acoustics and the bass and treble, or something with the technology, and can do that kind of stuff. But it's hard to say. That's kind of the weird debate. One of the it's one the debate. It's one of the debates is they're trying to find a bunch of evidence. I think James Walbert is a brilliant entrepreneur, and same thing happened to him. And I think he actually, you can look his name, James Walbert, WALB. I think B. I don't think it's PE. No, it's WALBERT, and he is a TI, and he was able to sue somebody and found out. And I believe he won. I remember him saying it. So he's a TI that actually won. I think so. But the thing is, it's like V2K and synthetic telepathy is the weirdest thing where you can always hear these. I can hear them chatting right now. It's in my own case, it's 1 to 2, normally 2 voices, a guy and a gal, and whatever you're thinking in private, they can literally tell you and talk about to each other and to you what you're just like, say you're just thinking or having a memory of Fred Flintstone or the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew books or shows, and when you're a kid, you're just thinking about something that reminds you of it, and then suddenly you'll hear them talk about, oh yeah, Hardy Boys, yeah, I remember that show as a kid. And of course, if you're going around telling people that, you can hear these people talk about whatever you privately or just think about, and it's in real time. I mean, not like 5 minutes later; it's right then and there. You can hear them. And the thing is, it may be very hard unless they experience it for themselves to actually. I mean, when you really experience it yourself, I mean, there's no question or doubt. I mean, you know it. You know, yeah, you just do. You know this is real. And as much as it'd be great, um, more to hear from God, and there's some debate, and the Lord or spirituality, that very well could be. I don't doubt that the Lord or God can use whatever. Um, obviously God who made, if you're a believer in the designer or fine tuner of the universe that created electricity in the first place, and the universe, if you're of that religious faith, then you have no problem thinking God knows how to do all this stuff way better than we do. Um, but still, it's that technology, and we're just kind of learning stuff like table scraps on like natural theology or natural philosophy. Anyway, I'm going to go off on a tangent there. You get into natural theology or the philosophy of religion. I'm right there wanting to have a big discussion, but I'm also a targeted individual. So, and that was something else. Robert Duggan was talking about a lot of these religious scripts. And I know at least that was true of me since literally the age of 12, studying um, Christian apologetics and philosophical theology, the philosophy of religion, trying to prove the existence of God, proving the soul, proving free will, and proving the soul and the existence of God, the fine-tuning argument, design, and all this stuff, proving the soul. And that's actually pretty easy. If you believe in free will, the normal common sense understanding of free will, not hard determinism or soft determinism. Anyway, it can go on and on. But if you just believe in free will and look into the background of how you can believe in that with materialism, then anyway, it's quite a discussion. It's always interesting. So it's good to read on everybody's, whether religious or humanist or conservative, liberal. It's good to read from all people and get a pretty good understanding of whether other people sincerely come from. Especially, you know, in today's day and age where you got everybody with different ideas and people calling each other fake news and, you know, anyway, I go off on a tangent there. So the weird thing is when you're part of this, like I said, synthetic telepathy, if you looked at Wired magazine, I believe it was August, it was I think in 2008, but Wired magazine had in August, I don't know if it's 8th or 18th or something, they had a thing on the Army recruiting or money getting grants to a California university for synthetic telepathy. And it was in Wired magazine, 2008, I believe. But then they kept it on, but then somebody said they took it down from the Wired. But I was able to look at it and find it. So it was up there somewhere. Wired magazine, synthetic telepathy. And that is literally whatever it is. They can see through on their computer in front of them. I don't know if it's an electroencephalograph or however to pronounce it, but literally on 60 Minutes, they make it sound like it's, they're at the beginning stages of finding out, like they can kind of guess. And they're light years way beyond what that show is showing. And when you're a TI, I mean, you just know it. You can hear it. The thing is, it's hard. It is hard to prove. And you just sound like, and we just do. We admit it does. It sounds nutty. But the nice thing is knowing this is happening, we're not the only ones. I mean, it's happening to other people. And quite a few people. We don't know how many. We also know that there's information people, there's what CIA people would call disinformation, and sometimes it's just people who believe sincerely that it's different, this or that, or they're led astray into thinking that they know what group is doing it. You got different people who are saying it is your neighbors. You got other people saying that it's not your neighbors, that it's electric acoustic stuff that's being thrown to make it sound like it's your neighbors. And I'm the farthest person to ask a scientific question on, especially on technological or engineering, or it's not my field. So the main thing is to try to, whatever shitty things they do, whether through sound or menacing or scare stuff, it's called a no touch. So it can try to scare the shit out of you through their sounds or pumping electrical, like a recording, up to your house, your apartment. But they're not allowed to physically hurt you. They're not allowed to, because they don't want to have to answer to anybody, or have somebody say, see, they sent somebody. The weird sometimes they do anyway. They just come through, or like move into your house and move stuff around when you're not there. But it's really hard to say. All I know is I get personally V2K, synthetic telepathy, and I get burns. There's one on my leg and one that I used to get on my stomach. And I get these shocks, these little jolts. Could be when I'm sleeping or just watching TV, where it just sudden jolts of just like boom, you just double over. And it's been getting on the news a lot since 2016. What is known as Havana syndrome. And the great thing is, it's been going on the news, but it's only been affecting Americans. Havana, because it started in Havana, Cuba. But after a while, I think the Cuban government, they deny everything. All the other countries deny it. But if you watched 60 Minutes, and I encourage you, if you haven't seen this, to type in 60 Minutes. And 60 Minutes, this is probably about a month and a half ago, Havana syndrome. And they introduced the person from the FBI. I think Burns is his name, with a mustache. And I think before him, they introduced a man who had written a textbook on uh, microwave radiation technology or weaponry. And he just simply admitted, well, yeah, we've been studying this for the last 50 years. Um, America, China, and Russia has been studying and experimenting on this not medication, technology for the last 50 years or so. And then it showed three different. There were photos of three different prototypes of the machines they use in this. So I encourage you, I think I might even have it on my own YouTube account. So feel free to look at 60 Minutes thing of Havana Syndrome. There's one or two episodes about 60 Minutes, but this one is the more recent. And it shows three prototypes of what the machine, different variations of what the machine used to look like. Now it's a lot smaller. They can even carry it like in a suitcase. And it was funny because they interviewing the fellow, one of the scientists who wrote the textbook on it, and then he admitted, yeah, America, Russia, and China for the last 50 years has been working on it. And then he showed the textbook he had written on it, and then they'd shown on 60 Minutes of this episode three prototypes of what the machinery they used for this used to look like. Now it's more compact, what it used to look like. And then they interviewed Burns, the CIA leader, and he had just come back, and his envoy of people, government agents or whatever, they got hit with Havana Syndrome. And he admits, oh yeah, that's real, it seems real. And then they say, well, it doesn't look like it's a foreign actor. It doesn't look like it's another country, which we already know is TI's. But then he says, well, we know it, we believe it's somehow, but there's just not enough hard evidence. And that's the wording he used. There's not enough hard evidence. And the thing is, what the hell is hard evidence? They interviewed the person who admitted it was 50 years of research that the US, China, and Russia has been experimenting with this stuff. Just showed three pictures of different prototypes of the machines, the actual machines itself that used to, and probably still does, that helps create this energy and uses it as a torture device on innocent people. So they've shown the machines itself that are used in this torture. And what is hard evidence? If that isn't hard evidence, just because it's wireless technology, it goes from that machine, and it's just like wireless technology. I can't see the wireless part. It's wireless because there's no wires. Okay, so I can't touch it like a wire. It's wireless. Get it? And they treat us like children. They treat the American audience like we're children just because all of us haven't gone to Princeton, Harvard. I went to a Bible college and I became a CNA, a caregiver in a nursing home. But I know that when I turn the computer on, and this is a computer that I'm talking on, I know it's wireless from wherever, that the satellite sends a signal and I can watch this. And it's not just way over there and then right here. They somehow can send it and it's invisible, but it's still, I can't see it, but it's still real, even though it's wireless. And so this is how they treat us. And they can show the picture of the actual, the machinery that helps make it, and they use to torture their own people in Havana Syndrome. It's the same microwave radiation, and they're acting like we don't know what it is, and it's a mystery. Now you can look at my own YouTube thing where I show the 2011 and 2012, I believe, White House bioethics meeting. And there's like 10, 11 different people, presidents from universities and doctors and scientists that are at this meeting, professional people. Amy Gutman is the president of University of Pennsylvania, I believe. I don't think it's Penn State or University of Penn. Her and I forgot the gentleman, that's another smart fella. But right, those two, and then right next to those guys is actually it's Anthony Fauci's wife. She's a brilliant scientist, doctor in her own right, Dr. Christine Grady. She doesn't go by Fauci, but she is in this group to make sure that whenever the United States has a new medication or a military technology, that if it's used on people, the bioethics is that us as people, we're not being used as lab rats, or hopefully it's done ethically in a good way, and we're not being tortured, abused. We have our consent. And the thing is, that's exactly what isn't happening. We're being those of us who have had this done. It's a torture technology the military is making. It is given to everyday law enforcement, and sometimes with some doctors in the country that are willing to give it to patients and sign non-disclosures. They probably get lots of money for it, and all us everyday people in high school or college or just working our normal jobs, we just know that we're in pain. And the government is doing this to people. We just know we're in pain. We don't know what's causing it. So, like anybody, we just, let's go see we're in pain. Headaches, heart, palpitations. It's doubling over, just some kinds of cancers because of the radiations. We just know we're in pain. So we go to doctors or the hospital. And if we're lucky, we get somebody who gives us compassion and can help us. But if it's non-disclosure stuff where a doctor can't talk about it, I mean, because some other doctor or some other law enforcement decided purely by luck of the draw, bad luck, or somebody else decided, they wrote a book or they farted in Safeway parking lot and I had to walk and smell. Who knows what the reasons they could give to torture somebody else. They farted and I had to walk in the area and smell it. I mean, to torture somebody to the point of they end up their own. I mean, they did this to me in high school, and I was most friendliest in my class. I was most likely to be teaching scientific creationism. I was really fundamentalist in my upbringing, but anyway, I didn't have any enemies even all those years afterwards. I thought that even police were good. I just thought they were all City Hall. The people, I was very thankful for everybody that was in my life. Even I didn't have people in my life as far as City Hall or doctors or government. Thankful for my doctors. Thankful for and I had to change, because other doctors have left and, but more or less the same. But, I was thankful because they'd send me to a specialist and the specialist did what they did. And I was thankful for them. Very thankful. But to not know what caused it. And then you get V2K and you don't know what it's called. You just know you're starting to hear these weird voices through the floorboards, like Steve Grogan. Look him up. He was talking. Myron May. You look him up. He was the Florida State shooter and a targeted individual. And before that happened, before he did that, he had 3 YouTube videos. I think you can find him on James Lico, Lico, on his YouTube, where Myron May talks about on his 3 videos. And he describes many aspects of being a targeted individual, from gang stalking, briding with cars, doing the briding, or things that trigger people, trying to get you to punch people, voice to skull, synthetic telepathy. He does a very good job of trying to help people to understand, because it sounds too weird, but here he is, a very intelligent, Myron May, very intelligent lawyer. And for whatever reason why they did it, or he was just just horrible random. It was wonderful that he put the information out there. We just wish he was with us, and that those people wouldn't have gotten hurt. He did it for the reason to expose, and he thought the only way to get the information was by causing a big travesty, a tragedy, and have the news follow it. And if the news follows it, then hopefully they'll explain why he did it. And they actually did. The police went in Florida. They went and said, Mr. May thought he was suffering from what he called targeting. I mean, they even admitted and put it out there. I mean, that's the gall of it. They know it's real, but at the same time, when this stuff, that was 2013, 2014. But around 2016, a lot of them are talking about draining the swamp, get the corruption, the bad money, the corruption out of Washington, D.C., out of politics, out of all the things that is corrupt. Torturing, taking brand new, like there isn't enough ways to torture or to make people hurt. To use stuff in space, satellites, to find new ways to torture people to death, walking them to where they will end their own life. And a lot of this is happening in conservative religious towns, even, and using some of these very people, conservative religious people, thinking they're helping law enforcement, to torture somebody to where they end up dying, often themselves, because they're in torture from direct energy weapons, just like Havana syndrome, voice to skull, synthetic telepathy. Though, if they talk about it, somebody could lock them up in a psych hold. And these are people that you thought were good people. You didn't have any enemies, but they get money of some kind for it. And whether it's life insurance, like Stoli, stranger-owned life insurance, or dead peasants' life insurance. Now, I don't know if it would make sense. But it's just to know that a lot of these people are drain that swamp. And the next day or 2 hours later, after that, drain the swamp, and then, for all I know, going to church. And then going from that to, hey, did we get that money? Did that son of a bitch kill himself? Or did that one son of a bitch lady, did she kill her? I mean, just, because they get more money, or at least they can wrap it up and hope before the evidence gets out, or before that person finds out what the name of the program and what's going on. Because a lot of people die before they even know what's happening to them, or they get locked up or thrown in jail, or and they just don't think that they would do this to them. It's like, yeah, no, there are people even in towns where you thought, no, like me, I was naive. They were screwing around with my TV, well, more my computer, because they would get the mouse to move by itself. And I thought, well, somebody's messing with me. Now, if somebody was messing with me, what would they probably call me? They'd freeze my computer and then get the mouse to move on their own. It's like they'd probably say that person, me, is a dumbass. So I wrote dumbass 2. Dumbass 1, first is dumbass, and it's like dumbass 1, dumbass 2. And it took really just that. And instantly it opened up. That's what their name for me was. All I was a CNA. I had 2 things. I had studied theology, apologetics, tons of religious stuff and humanist stuff, freedom from religion stuff, because I always wanted to understand religion, even the atheist side, their viewpoints on stuff. As a believer myself, the fine tuner, the design, belief in the design argument, I just am a believer. And I think free will proves there's a soul. But that's just me. I'm not trying to convert people here to. It's just that's my own personal belief, but I respect people of all beliefs, of different beliefs, and I enjoy hearing what people have to say. But anyway, it's just really weird, and it's not like it doesn't matter if it's conservative or liberal. Both sides have allowed this to go on. Republican and Democrat have gone through all these administrations in Washington, D.C. Barack Obama, to his credit, started the bioethics in 2011 and 2012 with Dr. Christine Grady. It's Dr. Fauci's wife, to help with these 10 other people to investigate this and target individual stuff. But it's still going on. So we got heard. A lot of people got to talk, and they know what's going on. They're acting like they have no idea now, that Havana syndrome, but it's the same thing. It's microwave radiation. And so it's just, for what I'm doing now is just this. I like to figure out some other, I know there's some wonderful groups. FFTI went to the rally in Portland. Thank God for those people, because it was the first time it made sense of my life. 35 years of going through this side pain. Nobody telling me, it's like I wanted to ask, like, hey God, if there's one thing I would like to know, what is this side pain? I thought I would never have an answer until, die, go to heaven, or talk to, everybody has that belief or fantasy. If you're raised religious, you're one-on-one. But now I thank God I was able to know. They were able to show me what it was. All these years later with V2K, I finally found out, oh, people with V2K are called targeted individuals. These voices are called V2K. People with V2K are target individuals, and most of them have what's called directed energy weapons, just like Havana syndrome. And you get these little shots of microwave radiation that hit you, but you can't see it because it's it's like wireless. So Keith, Mindland. Hello, Keith. Let me just say hi, Keith. It's good to. Are you a TI, Keith? You're welcome here no matter what. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you and human trafficked and tortured is here too. Military operations. So I'm glad you're here, Keith. Just as a TI, just talking about this stuff, and it's just, I just definitely hope we can get some more support. And there's some groups out there, of course, like PAX International. There's quite a few groups that I would encourage, and Freedom for Targeted Individuals, and they had a group in 2017, and in 2018 they had it's online. I think Dr. Matt Aaron has it on his thing, or Meads B channel on YouTube, showed it with Sacramento in 2018, and then Portland, that's where I went to, in 2019. That was the first time ever meeting another TI. I literally thought somebody was just effing with me and put some kind of weird recording in my coat, somehow stitched it in there and playing some weird, cruel joke. And I didn't have any enemies. So it's like, why would somebody do this? I didn't know this was connected to why I was in pain for all these years. But thank God that I finally know, to have an answer after 35 years, at that time 30 years, but to know after 35 years, well, it was 30 years at the time, but I'm just thankful I finally know. So you are one to yourself. Do you ever respond to V2K by yelling back at him? For me, it's been, like say 4 years. I don't really yell. I can, talk, and just like, I know people have ever said, don't listen, don't talk back, ignore them. And I don't really listen, like believe. And they say, don't believe them, don't listen. It's like, it's whatever you can handle, but I would definitely not encourage believing too much as far as what they say, because mine are getting pretty bored talking to me, because I'm sometimes when they did street theater with me, they a couple times when they first started out, they had their thing was because I studied theology and apologetics, like, you think way too much about religion. And it's true. I literally thought all my side pain was because for all these years, and I kept it to myself because I thought it was because of I was stressed about religion and stuff. And I kept it to myself, the anxious, my questions, my doubts about this and that. So it made me study. And I literally thought this was because of religion, that I got all this stress and, it was very painful. But I thought, well, other people of faith have got stressed and, want to have a few beers and some, smoke some cigarettes, but they don't get this side pain. I mean, people get stressed. All people get stressed. And I'm not really, other people have gotten persecuted, like, thrown in the fire and like Spanish Inquisition. And so I didn't know what was causing it. It's the only thing I could think of, but then found out it was DEWs, directed energy weapons. I literally thought if I tell people about the anxiety or faith or whatever, because I studied all this stuff, religion and humanism, and I enjoy the discussion, hearing what people think on this stuff in different religions and liberal, conservative, but I didn't want to poison somebody else and have their beliefs hurt or something, and it might do the same to them, get them all their heart and emotions or their heart will be deadened, or your heart being made cold by doubt, and I thought I didn't know what caused it. But then finally with V2K, no, it wasn't anything I did. It was just those fuckers. Yes, I swear once in a while, I don't care. It was those direct energy weapons. I was being a guinea pig and nobody told me that. And I literally thought it was like, well, it's like my heart is hardened because I didn't study or pray. Well, that's all I did was study and think about it. And so needless to say, after that, I needed a few beers just to unwind and have a few smokes. So, and I'm glad, thankfully, that I got to find out what it was. 35 years finally. They're so over the top proud and they launch into violent tirades. I find it difficult to not tell them who they are. Yeah, I know what you mean there. It's for like going on 4 or 5 years now. It started V2K started earlier than that, but it's like it was coming through the thing, but now it's just head stuff in the head. And but started 2015, 2016. And I don't really yell at him because I don't want to do it even further. But I get more angry, but I'm also thankful. It sounds weird, but I'm thankful because for 30 years not knowing what my side pain was, and now finally knowing, I was waiting, like, wait till I'm 90 and die, and then find out God will tell me, well, what was my side pain? And finally to know after 30 years, it was constant, is constant. But now to finally know what it is and what caused it. And now, angry that people from my own little town did this, and they just thought I was a dummy for not knowing what did it. I was constantly in pain. At least they were nice and gave me pain meds, but sent me to specialists. But I was a guinea pig. I didn't have any enemies. It's okay if people yell at them and lose your cool. That's the thing they're trying to get you to do. Those you lose your cool. Hopefully do something violent. It's no touch torture. So you know what I mean, Keith. It's no touch torture. So they're not allowed to come up. They can come up and try to pretend like they're mad and going to do something to you, but they're not allowed to actually touch you. That way they can't, it's like, well, we didn't do anything. Nobody touched you. Make you look like you're nuts. Even if you start doing that thing like they're doing with the phone and look, phone, here's the phone. And if you start doing that, then you start looking nuts like they look. That's what they're hoping you do. So it's a little nutty. I'm gonna check something real quick, and for 10 seconds. I got to turn the oven on for a second, okay? Be right back. 375. All right, just me again. And they are so over the top and they launch into violent tirades. I find it difficult to not tell them who and what they are. And that is, if you noticed any of this stuff, and I see this sometimes in some of the written stuff on TI stuff, is that everything is, I mean, it is so over the top. I mean, number one, it's torture. And so the language is overwhelming, over the top. And a lot of it, I can catch it because I can, my nature is to say something, and no matter how much, I just kind of bring it down a notch. I'm not saying that stuff good or bad. I'm just saying it's like, bruh, it's to get a reaction. Everything is, and when you can hear them, the V2K, they either have some kind of screen in front of them where they can look at my, vitals or something, because there's not much. When you get hit with DEWs, direct energy weapons, at your heart, 30 some odd years of this hitting him, and then towards almost like necrotic tissue. And hearing them over and over say there's no movement or something like that. There's no, there isn't movement, or there's nothing, or, it's just like, I know that a lot of it's true. Now, once in a while, I can have some kind of like something or an emotion, but it's a smaller fluctuation. And it's just, it's just, they're trying to get you upset and down to where, you try to, so they'll keep, on one hand, their motivation is to also say there's no move, like there's no hope. Well, them making me mad, finding out that them and the people of my town, I'm not going to check out, because I want those people to either answer for what, even if they don't answer ever, I mean, they will answer. But I want because they like to promote and propose the idea that they're the religious, drain the swamp, small town. And for all these, when I was a kid growing up, and they didn't tell me, they just let me, nothing. And I want it like a dog's nose being in the shit. And I want them, I want them to look in the mirror, and it's like, when they see me, they know I'm looking at them thinking that's what I think of them. All their talk about ethics, when they talk about CNN or Fox News, their rightness, something's right, something's wrong. Whenever they talk about that, I want them to be reminded, no, I know that you get money to torture people, including torturing me. And I did nothing, not only to you, but because of my memories. They can look at synthetic telepathy, anything of my memory, and it shows up. And I've never heard anybody in my life. There's nothing they can say, oh yeah, well, you did what? I never heard anybody. I mean, I've made mistakes, but even saying mistakes like an excuse, I never knowingly, intentional. I just never hurt anybody. I made mistakes, but I never hurt anybody. I never intentionally. And they still did it to me. They did this hoping to find something to blackmail something. What? Because I looked at a Playboy when I was 16 or something. I mean, that kind of little guilt trip ain't gonna work. I mean, it's just like, I never hurt anybody, so it's just, and just rub their nose in their face in the people that are so. And I do believe in faith and the whole bit. I do, But let's just be known, there's a lot of people that when they can get money, and you can't have both. You can't pretend to be this and torture people like the Spanish Inquisition, whether you're Catholic, Protestant. I don't care if it's Buddhist. I don't care if you're an atheist. If you're part of torture and to get money, um, you're trash. You're just trash. Um, and your viewpoint on politics, your viewpoint on religion, tell me whatever it is you believe and pretend to be part of so I can run the hell the other way, right? It's just like so. Sorry, I didn't listen to me. The frontal lobes all day. Let's see. I'm sorry, guys. I was kind of. Have you heard of TI News? Yeah, TI News. Yeah. Knowledge, would it fit in their channel? They are current on the targeting program. Yeah, Scott and Will. I've watched quite a few of their things. They're really interesting. Sometimes they're funny too. So they burn my frontal lobes all day. I have pictures of bright red burns on my. No, I've never. No, that one I've never. Frontal. I've had a couple times where they tried to do, um, the head. Suddenly, I never really get headaches, but they did that to me, where just a couple times, just for like not even 5 minutes, and then it's like, oh, they can do that. Not just my heart, but they can. And then they'll say V2K. It's like, yeah, that's us. We can do that. That's us. And then suddenly that awareness, and then they stop doing it that quick. I've had that only happen like twice. So I'm thankful for that. Let's see. That dude Till just watches Target's videos and mocks him. Yeah, I can't watch. I know. I know what you mean there. It's I like a little bit. I can handle, I like humor, but one thing I don't do is when TIs start looking at other TIs and say they're fakes. Anybody who, in my book, anybody that helps get the word out in any form, even if some of the things I think are wrong, other people might call them disinformation. Anybody that puts videos out and tries to get the word that this is happening, I'm thankful for. Anybody does it. Now, some of them might have a weird bent on this or that or freak, but I just don't like it when anybody starts calling, that person's belittles anybody and calls them perps, because I'm just glad they're getting the news out there. Mean ones that go around and they're the only ones that are real and everybody else is fake because they didn't return a text or a phone call in time, or something like that. It's just, yeah, that stuff has got to stop. I mean, we can call somebody a jerk for not doing something, but let's just call him a jerk for something. Or maybe I'm a jerk. Maybe I forgot to say thank you to somebody. I don't think I think I try to always be, but I might forget something sometime. But I hope, yeah, if I can be a jerk, let me know and I can apologize. But I certainly ain't the other thing. So that dude, yeah. Um, Sorry to hear that. Military also do similar evil with hitting my head in radiation. That is what they do. Um, no, I'm not saying they. No, I'm not saying they are. No, they're not. They're real. Those are. Yeah, they're real. They're real people. I'm just saying other people that do that kind of stuff that go on. There used to be a couple, and I won't name them. It's just that they go around and they had their own channels and would say this person's real, that person's fake, that person's, and unless that person comes out and says they are, but I just don't listen to them. Anybody that I think they're fun, I think they're funny. Um, I watch their show and I like them. As far as that anybody that does that, anybody that goes around and lets puts videos out there and shows everybody else's videos, I think that's great. I'm just glad they're getting that out, and I think they're real. So, um, it's the military, Keith. Human traffic. It's the military. Nobody else does this. It is. Well, it's the military and law enforcement, because that's why they do the sirens, and they do the gang stalking with the. I remember going to a clinic, and people in their squad cars were going like this to me, and I had no problems with law enforcement at all. And um, they went like this and then did like that to me, so it's like, yeah, they did that to me, and then they did the thing with the little lights, and like 7 cars all at once. And again, I'm not an anti law enforcement, because we need them, and they get called to do stressful things at the worst time in people's lives. But at the same time, that doesn't give people a green pass to do torture, and trying to get people to torturing innocent people, um, torturing them. It's sickening. It's like the Spanish Inquisition. Doesn't matter if it's Catholic, Protestant, Mormon, Hindu, Buddhist, Zoroastrian. Doesn't matter. Atheist. It doesn't matter. Torture is torture. It's always wrong. It just always is. And it doesn't matter the job of the person doing it. I don't care if they're the king of Calcutta. It's just always wrong. Especially when you haven't done it to anybody. So yeah, I can hear them saying, "Yep, they're complaining how much it costs." I hear that a lot. It costs, and there isn't a movement because I don't feel enough, and there's not enough movement or emotion on my side. And that's what they're saying. So yeah, it's definitely the military. I gotta check the oven one more time. Alrighty. I had to put some ham in there. My mom made some ham. I had lived by myself since I was 18. I'm 50 years old now. Went to high school, Bible college in North Dakota, interned at a church in Iowa. Worked as a nurse at a nursing home. I didn't go in the ministry. I had one more year of school. But I had studied so much apologetics, and I took some time, and I didn't have enough money to finish that last year, because I got $300 in the after that internship. And anyway, you don't realize that somebody at an early age, the government, is trying to torture you when you're a teenager and kill you just to see what the radiation does. You don't think that, and you certainly don't think that of the nice people that live in the town where you've been raised since you're 7 years old. So, but that's what happened. Now I'm in Salem, and like they say, it does travel with you. I think it's been like, you know, um, I think they're just disgusted by it now. I heard one person who was a cop go by a coffee place where I go, and I could overhear him saying, "This is a nightmare." And it is a nightmare, because I'm thinking about, because I think a lot about is religion and ethics, and not that I'm some holier than thou. I wish I was, but I'm good. I just genuinely am good. I've always been nice, and I'm kind of patting myself on the back a little bit. I should volunteer and help more people, but I haven't done that. But I have always tried to help, just on when I see them. But I've never been an ass. I've never been evil to anybody. I just never have. So trying to blackmail me, make me feel guilty for, yeah. The idea of them doing this, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, it's almost 7:30, so my mom is going to be here. I'm going to get some dinner for her. So anyway, my fellow TIs, love you guys. Even though I don't know you, just our shared experience of knowing TIs, I can empathize with you, and I'll be here. So feel free, and I'll talk to you in a day or two. Okay. All right. You guys take care. Okay. Okay, human trafficker and Keith. All right. I'll talk to you in a day or two. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.